Overloaders, welcome to a post Seahawks week one loss Seattle Overload show. We're going to react, if it's not too late to react, to the Seahawks 17-13 home defeat to the San Francisco 49ers. It's so upsetting. It looks like I've been crying. I think hay fever is, but it's like affecting one eye. Super weird.
Hay
And
fever. That's that sounds like something from like the 1800s.
right, it's severe. I don't know what's going on with that eye. I hadn't even noticed it. I woke
Hmm.
up like 40 minutes ago.
Well, Maddie,
Um,
if I may, please survive at least this podcast. You can die
mhm.
after, but we need you for the next 45 to 60 minutes.
I'll send an update picture where I'm
Mhm.
sure it'll like just chill out. Um, Also my toe. We never talked about how my toe's like absolutely destroyed.
Oh, I'm sorry about your toe. What happened to your toe?
I dropped a monitor on it.
Oh,
Well, it was
that's
actually a
right.
monitor stand, which was like made of metal from like quite a big height.
I remember that now.
Um, does move though. David, we're going to talk about that field goal decision, and we saw your donation last night. Thank you. Apologies for the late audible. I was stuck on a train. Sunday night football was what we wanted to watch as well, and I think that was a good decision given how that game ended. Well,
Great. Oh
just how
my
that
God,
game was.
dude.
Um,
The National Football League, man, is an insane league of professional sports.
that like I don't know. Sometimes I find that style of quarterbacking. This is going to sound not fun, but I find it it's almost it's just weird to me. It's like it's beyond comprehension, so I don't know
Right.
whether to enjoy it or not. It just is stunning, like, if
Is
that makes sense. But
right.
last night I just found it so fun. It's like these guys are just aliens. Like there's no point in analyzing any of this crap. Like
Yeah.
they're just
There,
different.
you have convention and like elite convention, right? And then you've got these other guys that are just like they supersede convention. They play outside the rules of what you can control for. They just break the sport. I mean, what Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen break the sport. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's just and it's like the and it's funny because we're coming out of an era of Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and those guys are you know equally as good slash better. I mean, if you put them in the all those guys in the same league at the same time, Josh Allen would have a year where he has better stats than Tom and Peyton, and then Peyton and Tom would have years where they have better stats than everyone. And of course, Mahomes, and you give him a receiver with a heartbeat, he's probably the best of all of them for one season.
yeah.
But it's just so crazy to go from that league to this. It's like the closest thing we have stylistically to Tom and Peyton is Joe Burrow and probably Dak Prescott, to be perfectly honest with you, stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
But even though like Dak, in my opinion, is a great quarterback, he's still like 80% of Peyton Manning, and so it's just the quarterbacks that are dominating the sport right now are just absolute world breakers.
That
It's
it is like
like
they're playing a different sport as well. And
yeah,
circling back to the Seahawks, like, man, they're quite far away from that. And you can still win a Super Bowl with like a different style to those two guys, and obviously like Lamar Jackson in particular, but I think Josh Allen also, both not that successful in the postseason, both
right.
not
I mean,
without a Super Bowl, but
like
still, oh my gosh.
yeah, to counter what we just said, like those guys haven't won a Super Bowl. Um, I mean, I just still think it's crazy what Mahomes did in the playoffs last year. It's a team sport and everything, but that was such a carry job. That Chiefs team was supposed to be a fringe playoff team.
Unreal. And
Um,
he almost kind of did it, week one this year. Like,
almost, yeah.
but didn't.
Um,
So maybe something's changing there. Anyway,
a,
we're a
a,
Seahawks podcast, Griff.
that's right. A quick housekeeping mention.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what was going on with StreamYard last week. It won't happen again this
Oh, did you
week.
see the
Where
comments though?
yeah, people were upset. I
People were
understand.
upset,
As
which shows Griff that maybe it's your show. Maybe you're the star. Maybe you're the talent.
hey, I take no responsibility for this joint. As far as the audio goes, I'm not using my headset this week. I'll be moving into another device which does not have a sensitive audio jack, so I'll be able to use the headset, and the audio will be better
Oh, it's the
in
device's
terms
fault.
in terms of quality, and they're not being crackling. So,
Okay.
But
Yeah, and
tune in
chat
next time.
during the stream. If we do experience tech issues, you, the live listener, and we can see a few of you overloaders, please do let us know if we're shambolic. Like, we try not to be. I feel, we've been doing this a few years now, and yeah, we could be better, but we appreciate you sticking with us. All right, Griff. You gonna tell me to do the thing, or should we just like hit it off the loop? No
All right,
hits.
I got to mention this really, really fast,
Okay.
Maddie. All right, I know it's insane, but a peanut butter and tomato sandwich is actually really good.
Oh, you
And we
tried it?
remember oh yeah, the whole
Nice.
like 10 people tried it. They posted it. Taylor
Yeah,
tried it. I think
I
Ben
saw
did.
Taylor's
Another Ben
picture
did. Our friend
of
Ben.
their one looked really good.
It's on it. So I put some Thai chili paste on it.
What? What?
I put some no Thai chili jam on it with
Like
tomatoes, and
red?
it was like almost black. Like it was like really authentic.
But what did Taylor put on hers?
I think,
Just chili oil.
yeah, I think chili oil, and then I also put hot sauce on it the first time.
Oh, you were like you were being a freak.
But it's not that far away though from like
Satay?
imagine having a Thai themed sandwich with peanut sauce
Yeah, like
and
satay type thing.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
satay even Thai?
yeah, Thai
Is it?
satay, absolutely. Anyway, the tomato and the peanut butter doesn't clash at all. They complement each other really well. It's just it's like a deconstructed.
Griff.
Anyway, hit it, Maddie.
Griff, satay is Indonesian, so I apologize to our
Mm,
Indonesian listeners for Griff's insensitivity there.
my apologies. It's you go to a Thai restaurant, you can order chicken satay. That's all I
Yeah,
know.
sure. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where Griffin and I are reacting to the Seahawks 17-13 Week 1 home defeat to the San Francisco 49ers. This is something that I saw coming. I thought that a lot of the Seahawks' issues were sadly going to materialize in this game, and I take no pleasure from this one because it was quite a frustrating watch. It was a bit of a weird game, but unfortunately, that did prove to be the case. And Griff, that's sort of what I want to start with you. Like, there's a kind of an idea that the Seahawks should have won this game, right? And it kind of slipped out of their hands right at the end, and they kind of choked it in a way. And I think
Mhm.
that's true. But then also, I tweeted that this was a 17-13 blowout because if you look
Mm.
at like the time of possession, like the 49ers EPA on offense, like they were kind of in control, and two missed field goals. Yes, the Seahawks blocked one of them, but the other was a layup shot. Two picks where, yes, the Seahawks made good plays, and yes, they did kind of pressure Purdy into the mistakes, but ultimately, they were awful quarterbacking play from Purdy. Where do you fall on the spectrum, Griff? Is this a choke job, or is this a 17-13 blowout, or is perhaps the truth less sensational and somewhere in between?
I think it's less sensational. It's
Boo.
week one opening loss to a divisional opponent, a close game. I think it was a true team loss, and one bounce or one ball goes the other direction, and they win this game. And we have, we put all of the positive inflection and spin on all the details. So I'm trying to approach this game almost as though they just won it by chance to kind of sober me up to, all right, how bad were the bad things actually? And so that I'm not also turning an eye away from the positives or the positive framing, because week one lies to you every single season. The first Sundays in September, the second Sunday in September, it just has so little predictive value for the ensuing Sundays. I mean, look at the Saints offense in weeks 1 and 2 last year, right? Remember how we talked about the offense after the Broncos game? Oh, finally, halftime adjustments. We've never seen this before, even though we had. You could have named 5 halftime comebacks
right?
in 2023 offensively, but it's just
Well, like also on that
we
Broncos game, Griff, I said like we were saying Bo Nix looked terrible, and that was obviously a bit of a preconception coming
well,
into that
and
game.
he did look
And
terrible.
he was terrible, right? And he was checking the ball down really fast, and he was like their ideal quarterback and whatnot to play. And then he was kind of the story of last season in terms of the rookies. Like he had a great season, and there's really high expectations for him this year. So yeah, week one is misleading.
Right. So it's hard to like the main takeaway from this game is that you have a loss, like, and that affects the standings, that affects the win-loss column. That's what matters. But all the other stuff is still up for debate. It's subject to change,
Hmm.
and that can be a positive thing or a negative thing. It's
Like
probably a combination.
yeah, like not to jump to the conclusion, but I guess to jump to the conclusion of this, I actually think in the long run this is a loss that's good for the team because if they win, it kind of papers over some issues that probably need
Maybe.
addressing,
Yeah.
and I think this was never going to be. They've obviously undergone significant change in the off season, personnel
Right.
wise, coaching wise. This was never going to be an overnight fix. Um, and while the manner of defeat is disappointing in a number of aspects, as you said, Griff, there's a number of things that are a fault when you lose a game like this. Um, it the fact that they did lose, it's going to give them real key areas to identify and address. And I guess those are the areas we'll talk about, Griff. So, do you want to start with the offense or the defense?
Uh, let's do defense first.
Okay, so Griff, I look at the defense and I see them picking off Brock Purdy twice. I see them getting quite a bit of pressure as well. I see the McCaffrey kind of getting bottled up. I see 3.1 yards per carry for him. I see lots of good things. I see they were the 49ers were 38th percentile in rush success rate. Uh, Pretty poor in EPA per play as well. But then on the flip side, Griff, I see that the 49ers were very high in pass success rate. They were 88th percentile in EPA per play passing, and that was with the 2 interceptions tacked on. So essentially, the non-pick plays they were just gashing the Seahawks through the air. And then I go, well, Shanahan's kind of done that to Mike McDonald before. Has much changed?
But didn't the way that the passing game was working outside of the turnovers, didn't it happen in a different way where a lot of it was play extension?
And I think, Griff, that's the really important point, isn't it? Like they were they were some freak plays, and in fact, 2 of the biggest EPA plays would have been Reek Woolen's incidents. But before we get to them, yeah, it was a lot of Purdy kind of scrambling around, making things happen.
Which is
Um,
is indicative of, I think, a relative positive. The
abs-
Seahawks defensive structure was actually pretty sound when it's been stressed mightily by
right.
Shanahan in the past,
Like there
like
were
last
some
year.
concepts where you looked at the replay, and we're excited to watch the tape. We haven't watched the all 22 yet. There were some concepts where everyone downfield's choked out. Like it doesn't even look like an NFL route concept because
Hmm.
the Seahawks have covered it so tightly or disrupted it so well at the second level and third levels. So that's a huge positive.
Hmm. And
Um,
it's I don't know if that's being too positive, but if I had to choose, like, would you rather have good? And this is something only film is going to capture, unless the stats and the charting is specific enough and accurate enough. If I had to choose between, would you rather do decently in structure and poorly out of structure as a defense, or the reverse? I would choose doing well in structure because that's more replicable, more repeatable week to week, and that's something that will follow. Whereas if they were just getting a bunch of turnovers on errant throws out of
mhm.
structure, but then getting shredded when it was like, the rhythm stuff, then I would be like, because you're not going to get
Yeah,
picks every, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
and it
if I had to choose, I'd rather have this combination as pass coverage goes.
right. And it comes with the caveats that George Kittle and Juwan Jennings missed the second half. Brandon Ayuk obviously wasn't playing.
Right.
Those are significant pieces for the 49ers. From a Seahawks perspective, injury-wise, it was disappointing on the opening drive after getting involved in a tackle that their big nickel, Nick Emenwari, hurt his ankle. The news out of that seems to be positive. McDonald said after the game that his ankle's intact. They don't think it's an high ankle sprain. I imagine they pulled him from the game out of precaution. But really positive news that doesn't seem to be significant, and maybe we'll see him in week 2 even. I'm sure they'll need some big nickel for what the Steelers present, and we'll be previewing that game on Friday. But that obviously, as McDonald said, forced the Seahawks to play a bit lighter. Devin Witherspoon had to play in the nickel. He had a great game, as McDonald himself described. And so there's some injury things that happen. I think, Griff, the most disappointing thing from defense, and we don't like to single out individual players, but Reek Williams had tough moments in the past, particularly on like high leverage plays where he's so good, like his skill set, his playmaking ability, like his feel for when he can go and play the ball and get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
That when he has lapses, it's just so jarring, particularly given on that big sideline catch to Ricky Purcell, which kind of kick-started 49ers drive, which was no sure thing. Like they took over possession with under 4 minutes left in the game, right? And they needed a field goal to tie it up. And then they just get such a huge chunk on that play.
Mm-hmm. He misjudged the ball really poorly. He thought it was going to be underthrown.
It was horrible.
I'm not sure why he, and that's typical when he has a lapse. It's usually like a pure zone coverage thing.
It's like and from like just an error of judgment, like weighing up these guys aren't computers, but like weighing up the probability of failure. Like he just completely gets that wrong. It's like I think he was in cover like I need to look at the coverage technique again. Anyway, he's responsible for that deep sideline area. And he stays square. Like, if you get double moved, it's tough, right? Especially, I think, did Purdy pump fake him before as well?
He might have, but he handled the double move well.
Yeah, he handled it really well. Like, he was in perfect position. He was squeezing it to the red line. And then, Griff, as you said, he played it like it was just going to be a massive duck underthrow. And it's like he just needed to keep, his hand on Purcell and squeeze him to the red line. Or, sorry, not the red line, squeeze him out of the red line, squeeze him to the sideline, off the field, basically, and play the football. And he just, it was like it's like when you're playing Madden and it moves the defender out of the way and the receiver catches the ball and you're like, that's a funky animation, the script's running there. Like, it was just a bizarre play. And then the second one, again, Purdy forced out the pocket on 3rd and 3. You're like, oh, the Seahawks defense is doing really well here. And Purdy lofts it up to a guy on like basically a Russell Wilson style miracle heave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Woolen's right there, and if he gets the pick, he wins the game for the Seahawks. So you don't really fault him for getting the pick. But from a former receiver it's very naive to not at least try and box out, but also really you gotta swat that pass incomplete. And just know that like that's a jump ball situation. He's throwing to a guy. He's not just throwing directly to you. There's going to be guys attacking that ball. It's like a do or die moment, and it just comes off as naive from a 3rd-year player who has been in that situation before. Just.
So your take on the touchdown is that he should have tried to swat it down instead of pick it. Do you think that's how you should play it?
It's lucky I'm not his DB coach, because it's really a tough one, right? Because, he's trying to win the game for you. He's trying to make a play. And if anything, that's admirable. And you don't want to tune that down too much, right? At the same time, if you're going to do that, you have to really try box out and high point the ball. You can't just stand there waiting for it to come to you. You got to go get that football. And then if you go and get that football more aggressively, maybe that becomes a swap because you've like, you just stood there.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, do you agree with what I'm saying there, or
No,
do you
I,
have
I
some?
I agree that Woolen had a disaster drive, and I think that before that drive he was playing fine. I mean, honestly, better than fine. But you have to add that all up, and I would say that he had a bad game overall. I don't
Yeah,
think he had a I don't think he had a horrific game. I think he had a bad game. And we have to remember that, like, look, they gave up 17 points to the Niners. And I know they're undermanned and I know they missed 2 field goals. But the reason why they didn't give up 40 points like they have in the past recently is because this defense can play defense. So we have to contextualize the negative plays. We have to correctly weigh them against the positive plays. Like we have to. Like we have to tell the whole story. That's not to sanitize what he did, but at the same time, he made these bad plays, right? But other defenders also contributed to scoring drives as well. Kobe Bryant gave up some plays. Devin Witherspoon gave up some key third downs that led to points. Ernest Jones had an interception. He had a TFL, and he also gave up some key possession-oriented passes. I mean, it's a team sport, and lots of things contributed to them losing. But I think it's especially unfortunate that it's happened now in 2 games for Mullen, where his screw ups have happened on the final drive, just the timing of it. But I
well, and
mean,
that's what can happen when you play in corner as well, right? Like
when you play what?
when you play corner, like by
Oh, sure.
or any coverage guy really, but by process of elimination, you're gonna get those sideline shots,
But
and you're gonna be put in those high leverage plays, and your there's chances of exposure are higher.
right. Do we want to segue this briefly into a Woolen conversation, a more global Woolen conversation?
Right?
Because he is
We sure we
he's catching a lot of heat right now.
Yeah, well, it's inevitable. Like after a loss, people need, it helps people to pin it on just one individual, and it's a bit early to pin it on Sam Darnold. It's a bit early to pin it on the new offensive coordinator, although that hasn't stopped some people. Um, you know, yeah, people generally are still having a high opinion of the head coach. So, although his decision making has also come under fire, we'll talk about that. But yeah, Woolen's the main scapegoat, isn't he? Um, and then I see
Which
some people saying they should extend him because it's right now because it's the best value they'll get. Um,
they're speaking my language right there. I
I,
actually think that's smart. But
we can talk about it wider. I think we'll end up repeating what we've said, and I think also not just what we've said now, but also what we've said in previous podcasts. In that his talent is so high and his flashes are so great that um
but it's not just his talent though.
oh
He's
no, and his base level of play, right? And his base
like
level of play.
he's very technically refined, and
Oh, for
that's what he
sure.
doesn't get credit for.
Yeah, that then when you see him do these errors, it's like, well, how can he not? How can he not make those plays? Like he's got it in him. That's
So
just insane. And
here's
it's just I still maintain that the Vikings one was just as much on either just a coverage bust in the communication between him and Julian Love
oh,
feathered
that was
out,
all love. That
but there was
that one
more
was
on Love than
yeah.
Woolen.
It
So
was the Rams game that where and on the Rams game he just got beat, man. Like he didn't screw up. He didn't have an assignment error. He didn't bust. He didn't have a bozo decision making moment.
yeah,
He just got beat by a good play. But
I
so he,
also Griff. I also think as
yeah,
well, and I don't. I'm not supporting this, but I'm trying to think in the minds of people who find this frustrating, really frustrating, right? Or like in the scapegoat mode right now. His personality is very kind of laid back and cool and like
yeah,
chill. And I think people interpret that like some of these mistakes as a lack of focus or like him just like being way too laid back and cool and not dialed in the play in the moment. And we'll
yeah,
never know that because we can't ask him, like we're not his coaches. But I think that adds to the
100%,
frustration for people.
100%. People look. I'm not a Tariq Woolen guy in the sense of like I loved Michael Bennett, I love Jordan Brooks. You know, I became a huge KJ Wright guy circa 2019, 2020, right? I'm not
You
Woolen's
love Jacob Martin.
J Mart, but Tariq Woolen, like I'm not like a fan of his in that sense. It's more, like, in fact, I find aspects of his play like particularly frustrating for my own selfish fan reasons. But 100% we over punish him for finding the aesthetic of his play, I don't know, displeasurable. And when he makes a mistake, we falsely, and I'm kind of calling us all out here, we falsely attribute his mistakes to, well, he doesn't focus hard enough, or he doesn't do this enough, or he's not tough enough, he's not strong enough. Which when he misses a tackle, it's because of those things. But when Devin Witherspoon gives up a play, and make no mistake, Devin Witherspoon gave up more third downs in coverage than Tariq Woolen did last year in high leverage moments. When Witherspoon screws up, we just go, oh, he got beat. Oh, he's got to play that better. When Woolen screws up, it's he's not living up to his potential. He was late for practice that one time. His head isn't in the game. He's too inconsistent. We are projecting our interpretation of these kind of intangible qualities onto his literal physical play on the field. And in doing so, we're misunderstanding his actual value, and we're not correctly assimilating our own anecdotal impressions of him accurately against the entire sample. Like we're getting him wrong.
Yeah,
Is
and to
what
be
I'm
fair,
saying.
Griff, like there is like it's not just as David points out, like Mike McDonald has called out Reek's focus, and Monjombo's pointing out as well. He was reprimanded for off the field stuff before the Packers came last year. He was benched by Pete Carroll. He was benched by Mike McDonald last season. So there is stuff to suggest it's a focus thing, in a way. Those two plays though, he was locked in focus wise. Like they're both common. They fall into the same bucket of the choice he made and how he played the football, and like how he just
So
totally misread the situation.
this is the other point.
He was focused on the play. He just messed up his decision.
Right. Yes. And this is my other point. So we are living in a different world now schematically. We have a different head coach who's calling a different defense. He puts his corners on islands at a rate that Pete Carroll rarely did. Well, Chris Richard did for a little bit. But we are watching a scheme now where there are going to be more chances for the corners to screw up versus not. And we as fans we don't have our eyes trained for that when we're on our couch on Sundays watching the game. And we need to accept the fact that there are going to be more opportunities to screw up. But it's still a math equation, numerator over denominator. The denominator has grown, so naturally the numerator is also going to grow. But what matters is the ratio between those two things. We know how frequently he's screwing up. We know because we can measure it objectively. It's empirical. And the fact remains is that he's still the best DB on the team when it's one-on-one coverage, better than Witherspoon, better than Love relative to who he's matched up with, better than Ernest Jones. And he's not only the best on the team in those contexts, but also a top 5 cornerback across the league. So when I say, but he's got top five stats here, and then the counter is, well, but what about that play against the Rams? What about this play against the 49ers? Those plays are accounted for when I say, well, he's top 5 in X, Y, and Z. So it's like when Julio Rodriguez has a bad month where he OPS is 600, but then the other months he OPS is 850 plus. It adds up to what it adds up to. When you're in this scheme, you have to, it's almost predetermined that a game like this is going to occur. Darrelle Revis has seasons in man coverage that are like top 3 of all time, and he has a game like this. You'll find it in his 2009 Jets film. It's there. Stevie Johnson works it. It's in there. But if we were Jets fans, we wouldn't be saying Darrelle Revis can't, but he has the Stevie Johnson game. It's like, well, that is included in his stats. Those stats aren't ignored. They're in the sample. They're accounted for. So I really think we just kind of need to
and they put to your point about
we need to readjust how we frame all of this. I really think we do. Otherwise, if he's not on your team and you want to replace him with someone else, you're not going to have a bunch of close games to get mad at him for, because the games won't be close to begin with, because the corner that has replaced him is not
Mm.
as good.
And to your point about them putting corners on islands, right? Like McDonald's view of Woolen's skill set is so high that Woolen gets put on an island more than any corner in the system, more than Spoon, more than
Yep.
Job. Like he is the guy who's always on an island. And so as an offensive coordinator, like if you want an island, like Woolen's the guy on the island. So yeah. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, like, because it's obviously a very important year for him
Yeah.
contract wise. He looked obviously incredibly disappointed after that touchdown. It's a big opportunity for him to respond, and DK Metcalf is such a good matchup for
Right.
his skill set, and it's kind of where he'll really shine. So
Now, if Woolen has 5 of these games,
in a
then
row,
okay, he's a fundamentally different player than what I'm describing, and I'll acknowledge that. But I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
you can afford this game over the course of 17 games. That's
right.
all I'm saying.
All right, Griff. Schematically, obviously, we'll look at the tape. I did see, like, on the Julian Love sack, they got into like a nickel bear look. So, um,
That's right. We did see some of that, and so defensively, they did well on early downs compared to late downs, which was the exact opposite of what I anticipated. I anticipated an inglorious slop fest, close score game,
yeah,
and that's kind of what we got. But it happened for
yeah.
opposite reasons than I anticipated.
Which I mean, that is encouraging moving forward because once tendencies are established on late downs, McDonald should be able to do a better job there. Along with some of those late down stuff being, as we've said, just Purdy crazy play extension. But yeah, the early down plan looked like some new wrinkles that we were kind of calling for, and I think the Seahawks were good at. So yeah, excited for the tape in that aspect. All right, Griff, let's talk about the big coaching decision. So somehow the Seahawks have the opportunity to take the lead, right? So they go down the field, put together a drive after some just absolute slopfest offense football, and they get to the 49ers 19-yard line, Griff, and face a 4th and 1. And we had a donation last night at 2:50 a.m. my time from David. Thank you, David, saying, you can't tell me, I think that's meant to say, that kicking the late field goal is a defensible tactic. Okay, but aren't 2 fullbacks, 4 tight ends, and Milroad rostered to get that yard on 3rd and 1? And then David's also keen to talk about that today, saying everything that you were saying, Griff, about Woolen and whatnot indicates that coach had to go for it on 4th down. The math, like, is fairly split on this. Like, there's not really a correct call. On the one hand, Griff, look at me being balanced. On the one hand, the defense had played pretty damn well, as we've discussed. You would have backed them to stop Purdy doing what happened. You know, the I cannot believe how badly Woolen misplayed that ball to Purcell on the double move. Ouch. And also they'd missed 2 field goals already, so you're probably feeling quite good about it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, Griff, if they'd missed 2 field goals, it was a tie game at 10-10. Even if you don't convert the 4th down, they've missed 2 field goals, and it's at the 19-yard line. Maybe they'd miss another. Maybe it's an extra reason to go for it. And that's what, the math that's analysing all these decisions, since, I don't know, whenever. But
Right.
that doesn't really weight that in that individual game context. And so, yeah, I mean, where are you at with it? Because the Seahawks obviously early on had run a sneak and picked up a 1st down on 3rd and short, 3rd and 1. They had shown that they had a Milrow package in. Maybe something we can talk about a bit later. Griff, should McDonald have gone for it, or are you fine with this decision? Because some people are incredibly upset about this, and this is the thing that they're choosing to isolate as the reason.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to secure points and wanted another go at it. Their rushing EPA was not great this game, but their success rate was actually pretty high. And I need to really digest the game again on rewatch, but I think they were doing decently on short yardage. Kubiak has enough tricks up his sleeve, even without the Milrow package, that they could have picked it up. But those decisions are hard when you're the one that has to make the decision in game, and you're Mike McDonald. I mean, it's tough,
You look incredibly stupid if you don't get it, right?
right? And so, we hated Pete Carroll for his, decision making in those types of situations, and I think Mike did well in terms of making the right,
Well,
like
hold
the
on. We hated Pete Carroll.
uh, under certain contexts, right?
I didn't hate Pete Carroll.
All right, I never hated Pete Carroll. Wow, Griffin, the Pete Carroll hater. Wow.
Yeah, people
Um,
are saying.
and have you watched Andor, Maddie? Have
Yeah,
you
I've watched
watched
bits
Children of
and
Men?
bobs, bits and bobs. Yeah, not Children of
Um,
Men. Yeah.
uh, so I don't know. I can say he should have gone for it. Maybe. I think our pal Derek from Hawk Blogger posted that the math actually advised against it. I'm not, like, the models were saying that.
Oh,
I'm not.
really?
I'm not
Well,
sure though.
Derek would have much better models and math understanding than I.
But I could see the argument for going for it, but I'm just not really pressed by it, to be completely honest with you. But that might be one of my flaws, where just fourth down decision making just doesn't move me very much. But that's to my detriment. So
um, David also pointing out that the math is for every roster, but this roster was created to get that yard. I think that's totally
yeah,
valid.
fair,
I
fair.
I think the thing obviously is like the 49ers had all three timeouts still. Um, there we go. Ben Casperson. So there's different math. This is the problem with mathematicians. They're always arguing with one another.
Well, it's all about what your inputs are.
Yeah. What are the inputs? Are the inputs good?
I think it's cool that two sets of very smart people can't always agree. It's like when we would watch, two high profile coaches on Twitter debate a single play call about what should have happened or who was responsible for what, and they can't agree.
Yeah.
You know,
If anything, that makes me want to actually pay attention to math. That there's a grey area there, rather than drawing football formations like
yeah.
I did in math class. My view is similar, Griff, to you. I think they probably should have gone for it. I'd have gone for it. I'd have backed all the work that I'd done with tush pushing and stuff to go and get that yard. Otherwise, what's the point of having it? At the same time, Salah had been doing some pretty nasty movement stuff, and the Seahawks had been having some pretty big issues with that. Is it Davis, their nose tackle? I should probably learn his name, but like he was lining up on the inside of the guard and then just shooting through the A gap. And I mean, against the tush push, in theory, that shouldn't cause too many issues. But wow,
Just throwing that out there.
The other thing, Griff, like 3 minutes 24 seconds left. 49ers have all three timeouts. You're at the 19-yard line. You're not going to be able to tick the clock down to them not being able to get another possession, realistically, right? Like, it's very difficult. You're still probably going to give them the ball back with 2 minutes, whether you score or basically a 2-minute drill, whether you score a touchdown or have to settle for three after getting the fourth down. So that's probably part of why the math is so split. The models can't agree with one another. Anyway,
Right.
I just having the aggression to go for it and win, or just back your team to go and get that yard, I would have liked to have seen. Anyway, Griff, that transitions us to the offense and perhaps why McDonald didn't have the confidence to go and make that decision. Griff, they have. Where do we start with this offense? Because my really positive spin is Sam Darnold only threw for 150 passing yards. But
Yeah.
and they only rushed for 3.2 yards per carry.
Which is strange because the success rate. I wonder if those numbers are accurate. So
Are
sometimes
they bad? 3.9 for Charbonnet, 2 for Walker. Like, yeah, we need to look at the situations, right? Um, but what I'd say, right, very kind of copy sounding, is when they needed a drive, they were able to put a drive together.
so you see the capacity of the offense to move the ball, like it's there.
Right.
So what we have to remember again, we have to take our I think training camp and preseason, like we fell for it a little bit, but we have to remember like
We?
week was week one. Okay, the proverbial we, the
Oh, right.
collective we. Okay,
That's very
we have to
inclusive.
remember that you've got a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback. You're only returning one high target pass catcher from last year, and there's just there is a lot up in the air, like there always was going to be, and so I think it's totally fine if you want to question Kubiak in this game in isolation. Should have done this here, should have done that there. Personally, I don't. I mean, you can do that for the sake of this game, but I don't think this game has a lot of bearing play calling wise on the future games in the sense that I think that this was very much like an exploratory game, a feel out game from Kubiak. He still has a lot of questions he has to answer, like, hey, who are my number 2 and number 3 targets? Like right now, we don't know who those people are yet. We have theories, we have ideas, but in theory, it should be Arroyo, but he's a rookie. Like
And how
rookies
do
are
you,
rookies.
yeah, and like, is he going to give you enough on the non-target stuff where, as a rookie with the variance as well, him not being the best blocker, it could be a bit tough to make that happen.
Right.
Is it
And
Torrey Horton? He's a rookie.
totally. And there's entire, like the Kubiak offense is vast. The Shanahan offense is vast. Like to their credit, you can do lots of different things. Now, every Kubiak, Shanahan, McVay offense will have a common denominator. The underlying like DNA will be the same, but there are so many different iterations of this offense. Kubiak is going to be exploring like what areas of his playbook and his packages does he want to live in, and he can't figure that out without tinkering first. It's not like Grubb where he's all over the place redefining himself on a fundamental level week to week. Kubiak is going to bend and ebb and flow within his structure, but he has to figure that out. So like I know people didn't like the prevalence of shotgun in the second half of the game. They were still like 48% under center this game though in terms of total snaps. Now that's less than it was in New Orleans with Carr, but 48% under center would still be like top 5 in the league. So this is still very much an under
Yeah.
center heavy team. We have
Well,
to remember that there's still going to be a minimum of 450 shotgun snaps for this offense.
right.
So those snaps still have to be good.
It's quite
It's important.
important for your
Yeah.
offense balance to be able to do shotgun. There's a reason teams move to the shotgun
Yeah.
with the
So like that has to be
proliferation of
good.
passing game.
And we really won't know, like, could we have seen more play action? Sure. But I think that there was some like the under center run game became so ineffective. And at that point, you're tasked with two questions. You either keep doing what you're doing, which is, Einstein's definition of insanity, it's not working, or you stay in under center and you add in all your wrinkles. And did Kubiak necessarily want to unload the entire clip of zone adjustments that early? Maybe he didn't think
Hmm.
his fledgling O-line could handle it. Maybe he didn't want to put all that on tape yet. Matt Hasselback on the Hawk Blogger podcast talked about how tendency in week 1 to tendency in week 2 can stray completely from what you actually intend to do for gamesmanship reasons. There's so many factors going on here. I just don't think you can be low on Kubiak, you can be high on him, whatever. I'm not going to come away with anything conclusive from this game from a play calling standpoint, personally.
I think that's fair. And they had just too many negative plays. Like, if you look at their scoring drives, there wasn't negative plays, but the drives where they had to punt, like there was way too many 3-and-out drives. The offense did nothing for large portions of the game, but those drives they feature negative plays often as the drive starter. Um, and you can say, like, why is he calling a screen pass? Well, I think he went to screen. I don't want to fixate on individual plays, but rolling Darnold out hard left and then trying to throw back to JSN. It's not the most believable idea, particularly when that's to Bosa's side. Like, he's quite a savvy player. He knew exactly what was happening with JSN just chilling in the flat to his left. Um, but my cope there as well is like Darnold misses Barner hitching up on like a choice type route, and then he looks at Barner afterwards, and it's like they're just not on the same page. The more Darnold plays with these guys, the cleaner that stuff's going to be. Cooper Kupp falls down on his like best route, the choice route where he's made so much money. Again,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. Ultimately, they have to. We said this offense is going to be very powerful if on first down they get a chunk, and on first down they didn't get enough chunks at all, and that's what they'll be looking to correct.
Right. Agreed. So, I mean, Darnold didn't, he had an inoffensive game, but it's more like, would better quarterback play have solved this? I mean, here and there, sure, but it's there just wasn't enough offense yet, and you kind of have to approach it from a more grander strategy perspective of like maybe they should have tried to throw more. But I mean, they're a run first offense. I think their early down run to pass ratio was like 18 passes to 22 runs. So
And that's kind of what Mike McDonald wants. Like, and ultimately, Darnold wasn't pressured lows. I think the 49ers had 8 pressures, which isn't crazy. He was he sacked once or sacked 4 times? I don't know how to even read that. He sacked once. Yeah, he's only sacked once for 4 yards. So he wasn't in a total hole, which speaks to, running, taking pressure off the O-line. The O-line didn't look totally out of place or out of depth. Yeah, it's just a shame, of course, also that it ends when they cook up like stuff to JSN and they're marching down the field. It's like, oh, they're literally going to score here, and then Darnold on 2nd and 5 at the 49ers 9 has Abe Lucas rushed into him and the ball comes out, and you look back at it and you're like, oh, hang on a second. He had Cooper Kupp over the middle, which I see in the chat as well, and Kupp did look open over the middle. I think if Darnold had opened out to that side when he was reading in his progression, I think Fred Warner probably sits in there and covers that route rather than running deeper. But yeah, I need to watch the film for that. I think the side that Darnold picked was probably fine. I think that made that route look more open than it was.
yeah,
But
there
it's
were
just an unfortunate thing, and Nick Bosa gave 2 huge plays against the Seahawks again, and he always does this. He's just a menace, and he is their kind of game wrecker. He'll push them over the top.
Yeah, there were again on Sam. There were some brief moments where pressure got to him, and him throwing the anticipatory throws like right before the receiver breaks. He put it a little ahead of JSN 1 or 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things like that where I think like when pressure comes and he's trying to stay on platform, he's jittery and his weight transfers off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what causes him to be errant sometimes. So we saw a little glimpse into that, but again, there weren't enough drop back scenarios to really know. But like the other shoe is always going to drop with this offense. You made a bunch of moves. John Schneider took a wrecking ball to his kitchen, and yeah, you tore out a bunch of stuff. But in the meantime, before the contractors get in there and you can start rebuilding it, you bring out the lawn chairs and you bring out a cooler and you order a pizza and you put the pizza on the cooler and you go, isn't this fun, kids? Until, your teenagers are like, but I need to do my homework. I can't put my laptop anywhere type of thing. So it's like, yeah, this is that period where you are putting the mattress on the floor in your new apartment and you're waiting for the furniture to come. It's like, well, Cooper Kupp, unfortunately, is nosediving, and Arroyo and Horton aren't there to pick up the slack just yet. we're waiting for those things to intersect. Maybe they could take pressure off of Cup. You can use Cup a little bit better. He can contribute. Horton and Arroyo and Barner can contribute, but that hasn't happened yet. And it's only one game. We need more details, but more data. But we should talk O-line, Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about the O-line in this opening game against frankly a weak D-line overall?
Yeah, but we said before, not to pat ourselves in the back again, but we did say before that this was going to be a really tough matchup in how they just shoot gaps and get upfield and are so fast off the football. And it's one thing like trying to prepare for that scout wise, but it's another thing facing that in real live action in your first like regular season game together as a starting five. I thought, yeah, it's going to be interesting, the conversation around the center, Jaden Sundell, particularly after next week, not to look ahead too far, but that's an even tougher matchup, I think, for his skill set. And this game was kind of up and down. Bradford kind of had some moments too where like the nose is slanting inwards and he like there's that power or counter play where he's got the down block on the nose, but the nose is shot inside to the A gap, and Bradford isn't able to move him enough. It's just too quick for him.
Yeah, it's possible that Bradford's weaknesses are just going to cap his ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that they, everyone's weakness is cap the ceiling, right? So
Sundell and Zabel.
Zabel looked fine. I need to watch the tape. He looked fine. Sundell had some moments.
He was very up and down.
Yeah, up and down. That's fair.
But in the ways that we'd expect, he made some really impressive reach blocks. But then he also made an identical block where he gets the same front side leverage on the guy, but then the nose works through him and gains a lot of depth on him. So he's very laterally quick, but then he has play strength issues.
And like Salah did do what we said, like he put a guy on him and passing downs and like just bull rushed him, and Sundell really had difficulty with that. And Darnold didn't like that either. Not that any quarterback would like that, but he did seem kind of sensitive to that in the pocket. It was a bit scary. And yeah, Cam Hayward and that Steelers D-line. Oof. Hey, Lucas was fine, just the high leverage moment. I think the O-line benefited from the balance of the offense generally.
Yeah. Darnold didn't have crazy heat on him for the most part, like you said. So and I like that we saw some shotgun and pistol running, which is important because then that makes the defense have a balanced mindset. We have to trot out balanced players if they're going to be balanced at a shotgun and not just pass heavy. That's also in part why we saw a little bit more shotgun than maybe we expected, was to balance out those shotgun snaps. So when it is time to drop back, Darnold can have a little bit more time. So it's all a puzzle that's being put together, and the broad formational splits are going to ebb and flow week to week anyway. Mm-hmm. 1 week it might be a super heavy under center week, and 1 week it might be a super heavy shotgun week, and 1 week it might be a 1-to-1 or 50-50 ratio. So there's just a lot there's a lot more we have to see. It would have been nice if the run blocking could have sustained, been a little bit more effective, I will say, if they could have gotten more vertical push, not just horizontal width. I think Charbonnet ran well, finding the creases. I wish Walker did have worse blocking, but I still wish he could have found some late creases a little bit. It's just not his mindset. You really have to.
It was like he was sort of trying. Sorry. What did you say?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm just saying you really have to pop the front side for Walker, which Kubiak has that in his bag. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm really interested into what they do. Like, obviously, they started the game with Walker out there, then Charbonnet pretty quickly took hold of it. It's they're good complements to one another in the styles, as you kind of spoke to there, but we know that there maybe has been some frustration with Walker from the coaching staff. Yeah, Walker's sort of quite not an erratic runner, but he's very energetic, like in trying to find something. and it's more for him about letting it just set up and reading it out and trusting the thing, which Charbonnet was very good at. And I think Walker was trying to be his creative self, and that in the moments didn't really suit what was there at the time.
Right.
Um, I think you're fine just doing a similar split. Like having Walker to come in is it fantastic. At the same time, Charbonnet's probably the guy who gets the ball first at this point.
Yeah.
And then it's another thing for Kubiak to kind of work out what plays they're great at. Like I know Walker spoke of his love of counter, which again is Griff, opening up that front side for him, as you were speaking of. You don't want to have a tell with your running backs, but you can accent the plays they're good at a bit more. Yeah. And then Griff, JSN is a huge positive. 9 catches for 124 receiving yards. We spoke a bit about him, Kubiak needing to work out who that third receiver is. And Cup could have had a better day, but for that slip. And, if Darnold looked the other way, maybe he gets the game-sealing touchdown. Nevertheless, the receiver group has a bit of an issue, as we kind of anticipated not to pat ourselves on the back or say we told you so, but they do really lack that burner type in the receiver room. Like JSM was incredibly good at like out and up moves. Like he had 2 for big gains, probably his 2 biggest games in the day, against different defensive back technique. So really impressive from him. He's such an impressive mover and detailed route runner. But who is
Agreed.
they need a 4-3 burner in my opinion. Like they just don't have anyone who can take the top off someone the defense, and without that they don't. There's like a spacing issue with the offense.
Yeah, it would make everyone else better if you just had that player. You could get away with it if this was peak Cooper Kupp, but it's not. You could get away with it if Elijah Arroyo was in year 3, but you don't have those things yet. So I'm not going to say, you shouldn't have traded MVS. MVS was the key to all of this, but I don't think he wouldn't have helped, So again, there's lots of figuring out for the offense. I imagine we see a heavier play action game plan next week. More gaps at the line of scrimmage, try to get completions that way just through structure. But it is cool that JSN, when he knows he's going to be featured and he knows the defense knows it, that he can still produce a lot of production, be very productive. So yeah, we just need more info, but I'm not terribly discouraged by the process of this game. It just sucks that they lost, though.
Agreed. And I see John in the chat saying, "Isn't Horton a 4-3 guy?" I think he ran a 4-4-1. Like he has speed though. Like he would be a bit of a stretcher option, but he's not a burner. Anyway, Griff. So we'll watch the tape. We'll have a tape episode and a Steelers preview on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, chat, we'll try and focus our tape breakdown on maybe like 1 or 2 players. But, yeah, until then, thank you for joining us. I don't think the sky's falling. Hopefully this gives you some positive perspective, a balanced perspective. At the same time, Griff, though, there are issues with the team that I'm disturbed at how the 49ers were able to expose them, and a fair few of them, I'm not sure how the Seahawks in their current guys improve on those issues.
Yep. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe.
Wow. Profound.
Yeah. And, I'm all about profundity.
No, don't. That's not.
For instance.
No.
Maddie, no obstacle is too great for me. I am not I am brave. I am strong and resilient. My past experiences do not define me. I can handle anything that life throws at me. I have a great capacity for handling things in my life.